Good morning/evening, everyone. It's such an honor to stand before you today. Life has a funny way of teaching us lessons. I've had my fair share of heartbreaks, not just in love, but in career, friendships, and even self-doubt. But here's the thing. Every heartbreak I've faced has shaped me into the woman I am today. And I want to share with you how you can turn your heartbreak into power. Pain is an inevitable part of life, whether it's heartbreak from a failed relationship, disappointment from a missed opportunity, or the loss of something we deeply cherished. We all experience moments that shake us to our core. The first instinct in these moments is often to run, to distract ourselves, to suppress the pain so we don't have to feel it. We scroll endlessly through social media, bury ourselves in work, or pretend like everything is fine. But the truth is, running from pain doesn't make it go away, it only delays the healing. I've learned that the strongest people aren't the ones who avoid pain, but the ones who embrace it. Pain is uncomfortable, it makes us vulnerable, forces us to face parts of ourselves we may not be ready to confront, but in that discomfort lies growth. Every setback, every heartbreak, every rejection carries a lesson, and unless we allow ourselves to sit with that pain, we'll never uncover the wisdom hidden within it. When I first moved to the US as a teenager, I struggled to fit in. I was bullied for the way I looked, for my accent, for being different. At that age, all you want is to belong, and I remember feeling completely broken inside. I could have chosen to shrink, to let the hurt define me, but instead, I decided to own my uniqueness. That experience of pain made me resilient. It taught me how to stand tall in any room, no matter who was in it. It prepared me for an industry that constantly tells you you're not enough, where rejection is part of the game. Pain also teaches us what truly matters. When we lose something or someone, it forces us to reevaluate our priorities. We learn to appreciate what we took for granted, to cherish the little things, to become more empathetic toward others who are struggling. Heartbreak, no matter how personal, connects us all. It is the one thing every human being has experienced in some form, and when we allow ourselves to truly feel it, we develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. I'm not saying it's easy. Sitting with your pain can feel unbearable. It can make you question everything, your worth, your choices, your future. But I promise you, the moment you stop running and start feeling, you take the first step toward healing. The more you lean into it, the more you realize that pain doesn't break you, it builds you. It shapes you into a stronger, wiser, more powerful version of yourself. So the next time you find yourself in a moment of heartbreak, don't numb it, don't rush past it. Instead, take a deep breath and let yourself feel. Cry if you need to. Write about it. Talk to someone you trust, because every tear, every moment of vulnerability is a step closer to your next breakthrough. Pain is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your transformation. Life has a way of throwing challenges at us, often when we least expect them. We experience heartbreak, rejection, failures, and setbacks that leave us feeling lost and powerless. In these moments, it's easy to believe that our pain defines us, that the narrative of our lives is already written, and that we are simply characters in a story dictated by circumstances. But what if I told you that you have the power to change the story? What if I told you that no matter what has happened to you, you have the ability to rewrite the narrative and create a new version of yourself, one that is stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before? I have faced my fair share of struggles. When I first moved to the United States as a teenager, I was bullied for my skin color, my accent, and the way I looked. At that time, I started believing that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't belong. It would have been easy to accept that narrative and allow it to dictate my confidence, my choices, and my future. But instead, I made a conscious decision to change the story I was telling myself. Rather than believing I was an outsider, I chose to believe that I was unique. Rather than letting the negativity shape my identity, I used it as fuel to prove to myself and the world that I was capable of achieving greatness. We all have moments where we feel like victims of our circumstances. A relationship ends and we believe we are unworthy of love. A dream slips through our fingers and we tell ourselves we were never meant to succeed. A door closes and we assume there will never be another opportunity. But the truth is, the way we interpret these moments is what shapes our future. If you keep telling yourself that you are broken, you will continue to feel broken. If you keep believing that you are not good enough, you will continue to see evidence of that in your life. The power to change begins the moment you decide to shift your perspective. Think of some of the most successful people in the world. They all have one thing in common. They refuse to let their past define them. Oprah Winfrey grew up in poverty and faced unimaginable hardships, yet she rewrote her story to become one of the most influential women in the world. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he built, yet he turned that setback into a new chapter that revolutionized technology. Every single person who has ever risen from adversity has done so by changing the way they saw themselves and their circumstances. So, how do you rewrite your own narrative? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to the stories you tell yourself. Are you constantly replaying your failures? Are you holding on to the idea that you will never be happy, never find love, never achieve your dreams? Once you recognize these limiting beliefs, challenge them. Ask yourself, is this really true? Or is this just a story I have accepted as truth? Next, replace those negative beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, say, I am learning and growing every day. Instead of thinking, I will never be successful, tell yourself, every setback is a setup for a comeback. Words are powerful. The way you speak to yourself matters more than you realize. When you consciously change your inner dialogue, you begin to rewire your mind and transform the way you see yourself and your future. Another way to rewrite your narrative is to take action. When we feel stuck in a negative story, we often wait for something external to change before we allow ourselves to move forward. But the truth is, the change has to start with us. Take small steps toward your new story. If you have experienced heartbreak, rather than seeing yourself as someone who has lost love, embrace the idea that you are someone who is now free to find a deeper, more fulfilling connection. If you have faced failure, rather than defining yourself as someone who isn't good enough, see yourself as someone who is resilient and capable of trying again. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to view every challenge as a chapter in your success story. No great story is without conflict. Every hero faces adversity before they rise. If your life were a movie, would you want the main character to give up when things got tough? Or would you want to see them rise stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever before? The pen is in your hands. You are the author of your own life. So today I want you to make a choice. Choose to see yourself not as a victim of your past, but as the creator of your future. Choose to turn every heartbreak into a lesson, every failure into an opportunity, every setback into a stepping stone. Your past does not define you. What you do next does. Rewrite your narrative and step into the powerful, limitless version of yourself that has been waiting for you all along. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences we face in life. Whether it's being turned down for a job, losing an opportunity we work so hard for, or facing heartbreak in a relationship, rejection can leave us feeling unworthy, defeated, and lost. It can make us question ourselves, our talents, our value, and even our dreams. But what if I told you that rejection isn't the end of the road? What if I told you that every rejection you've faced was actually pointing you in the direction of something better? We often see rejection as failure, but in reality it's redirection. It's the universe's way of steering us away from something that wasn't meant for us and pushing us towards something greater. I've faced rejection more times than I can count. There were roles I desperately wanted, opportunities I thought were perfect for me, and moments when I felt like I had done everything right, only to be told no. And let me tell you, it hurt. But looking back now, I can see that every no led me to a much bigger yes. One of the most important lessons I've learned is that rejection isn't personal. It's easy to take it that way, to think I wasn't good enough or I'll never get another chance. But the truth is, rejection usually has nothing to do with our worth. Sometimes things don't work out because they simply weren't the right fit. Sometimes we're being protected from something we can't see in the moment. And sometimes rejection is just life's way of testing how badly we really want something. Think about the most successful people in the world. Every single one of them has faced rejection. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because he was told he lacked imagination. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by multiple publishers before one finally saw its potential. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Imagine if they had let those rejections stop them. The world would have missed out on their brilliance. The key to turning rejection into redirection is perspective. Instead of seeing rejection as a closed door, start seeing it as a sign that you are meant for something different, something even better. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What other opportunities are waiting for me? Every rejection carries a lesson, and if you're willing to look for it, you'll find that it's often a blessing in disguise. Sometimes rejection forces us to level up. It pushes us to work harder, to refine our skills, to prove to ourselves that we deserve what we want. When I was first starting out in the entertainment industry, I faced a lot of doors closing in my face. It would have been easy to give up, to believe that maybe I wasn't meant for this path. But instead, I used every rejection as motivation. I trained harder, I learned more, and I kept going. And eventually, the right doors opened, the ones that were truly meant for me. The same applies to personal relationships. We've all faced rejection in love. We've loved people who didn't love us back, or we've had to walk away from relationships that weren't working. It's painful, no doubt. But when someone rejects us, it's actually a gift. It's life saying, this isn't the person who is meant to walk with you on your journey. It's making space for the right person to come in. Someone who will see you, value you, and choose you without hesitation. Rejection is also a chance to reinvent ourselves. Sometimes we get so fixated on one path that we don't realize there are other, even better paths waiting for us. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted because you're meant to start your own business. Maybe you didn't get into the school you dreamed of because you're meant to study somewhere else, meet different people, and gain experiences that will shape your future in ways you never imagined. One of the most powerful things you can do when facing rejection is to keep moving forward. Don't dwell on the no. Don't let it define you. Instead, use it as fuel. Tell yourself, this is not the end of my story. Keep working, keep improving, and keep believing in yourself. Because when you refuse to give up, when you trust that something better is coming, you open yourself up to possibilities that are bigger than you ever dreamed. So the next time you face rejection, remember this. It's not a stop sign, it's a detour. It's life redirecting you to something greater, something that is truly meant for you. Trust the process, embrace the lessons, and know that every no is just making room for the right yes. Keep going. Your breakthrough is on its way. Heartbreak is one of the most difficult things we experience as human beings. It can come in many forms. The loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, the betrayal of a friend, or even the disappointment of an unfulfilled dream. When we go through heartbreak, it feels deeply personal, almost like no one else in the world could understand our pain. But the truth is, heartbreak is universal. Every single person at some point in their life will experience pain, loss, and disappointment. And while heartbreak can feel like an isolating experience, it actually has the power to connect us to others in profound ways. It's easy to think of heartbreak as something that only breaks us down, something that makes us weaker or more vulnerable. But what if, instead of letting it consume us, we used our pain to uplift others? What if we turned our heartbreak into a source of strength, not just for ourselves, but for those around us? This is the real power of heartbreak. It can make us more compassionate, more understanding, and more capable of helping others who are going through the same thing. When I was younger, I faced struggles that made me feel completely alone. There were moments when I thought no one could understand the pain I was going through. But as I grew, I realized that those experiences weren't just about me. They were preparing me to connect with others, to offer support, and to use my story to inspire people who might be going through something similar. The same is true for you. The heartbreak you have experienced can serve a greater purpose. One of the most beautiful things about sharing your struggles is that it reminds people they are not alone. Think about how comforting it feels when someone tells you, I've been there too, and I made it through. That simple acknowledgement can make all the difference. When you open up about your experiences, when you share your pain and how you overcame it, you give others hope. You show them that healing is possible. Helping others through heartbreak doesn't always mean you have to share your story publicly. Sometimes it's as simple as being there for a friend who is struggling, offering a kind word to someone who feels lost, or listening when someone needs to talk. Your pain has given you a unique understanding of what it feels like to hurt, and that understanding allows you to be there for others in a way that truly matters. Beyond individual connections, many people who have experienced deep heartbreak go on to create something meaningful from their pain. Some start organizations to help others, some write books or songs that touch millions of lives, and some dedicate their time to causes that bring healing and change. Think about people who have turned their personal losses into movements that help others, mothers who have lost children and started charities, survivors of trauma who advocate for those still struggling, artists who channel their pain into works that inspire the world. Their heartbreak didn't break them. It fueled them to make a difference. Even in our daily lives, we can use our heartbreak to spread kindness. The pain we have felt teaches us empathy. It helps us recognize when someone else is struggling, even if they don't say it out loud. It allows us to be more patient, more understanding, and more willing to extend a helping hand. The world needs more people who have turned their pain into love, who have chosen to heal, not just for themselves, but for the sake of lifting others up. Of course, using your heartbreak to help others doesn't mean you have to ignore your own healing. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's important to take the time to process your emotions, to allow yourself to grieve, and to work through your pain in a healthy way. But once you begin to heal, once you start to find strength again, you will realize that your experience can be a beacon of hope for someone else. Heartbreak is inevitable, but suffering doesn't have to be permanent. We can choose what we do with our pain. We can let it make us bitter, or we can let it make us better. We can hide from it, or we can embrace it and turn it into something meaningful. When you use your heartbreak to help others, you transform it into something powerful. It no longer becomes just a painful memory. It becomes a force for good, a tool for change, a gift of understanding and connection. So the next time you find yourself asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try shifting the question to, "How can I use this to help someone else?" Because the truth is, the lessons you have learned, the strength you have gained, and the love you still have to give can change someone else's life. And in doing so, you just might find that your own heart heals a little more too. Taking risks is one of the most terrifying yet rewarding things we can do in life. It's easy to stay in our comfort zones, to follow the path that is familiar and safe, but real growth, real transformation happens when we step outside of that safe bubble and face the unknown. The truth is, we'll always have fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But the question isn't whether we feel fear, it's whether we let it control us or push us towards something greater. When I was first starting my career, I was filled with doubt. I didn't know if I was good enough, talented enough, or strong enough to succeed. I was afraid of rejection, afraid of being judged, and honestly afraid of failing. But if I had allowed that fear to stop me, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have stepped into roles that challenged me, built a career that spanned across continents, or used my platform to speak on important issues. I would have stayed stuck in a place of safety, and in doing so, I would have missed out on opportunities that changed my life. Taking risks doesn't mean being reckless or throwing caution to the wind. It means having the courage to move forward despite your fears. It means understanding that failure is not the opposite of success, but a part of the journey. Every time I've taken a risk in my career, whether it was taking on a new role in a different language, moving to a new country, or pursuing a project outside my comfort zone, I've learned invaluable lessons. Sometimes those risks didn't work out exactly as I hoped, but each time I gained something far more valuable than success: experience, resilience, and a deeper understanding of myself and the world around me. When we take risks, we often face the fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think, what they'll say, or how they'll perceive us. In the beginning, I struggled with this. I wanted everyone to approve of my choices, to see me as perfect, as flawless. But over time, I realized that perfection is an illusion. And if I continued to try to meet other people's expectations, I would never be true to myself. When I stopped seeking approval and started taking risks that were authentic to me, risks that aligned with my values and passions, that's when I felt most alive. The fear of judgment still comes, but it no longer holds the same power over me. It's natural to care what others think, but I've learned to filter that out and focus on what feels right for me. Taking risks also involves embracing the possibility of failure. And failure can be scary, especially when you've worked so hard for something. But here's the thing. Failure is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of your courage to try, to push yourself beyond your limits. Every failure holds a lesson, and each one brings you closer to success. If you're not willing to fail, then you're not really willing to grow. Some of my biggest achievements came after experiences where things didn't go as planned, but those failures taught me what worked and what didn't, what I was capable of, and how I could approach things differently next time. In my own life, I've also learned that sometimes taking a risk is not about doing something big and flashy, but about making small, courageous decisions every day. The risk could be as simple as having a difficult conversation, changing your career path, or choosing to say no to something that doesn't serve you. The more you take those small risks, the more you build confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way, and the more you realize that fear doesn't have to hold you back. It can actually be the signal that you're on the right path. We also need to remember that risk-taking is an essential part of innovation. It's easy to think that those who are successful had it all figured out from the start, but the reality is they were willing to experiment, to fail, to push boundaries. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They took risks with the information they had, even when it wasn't ideal. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from moments of uncertainty, when we choose to leap without knowing exactly where we land. The most important thing I've learned about taking risks is that it's okay to feel scared. Being scared doesn't mean you're weak or incapable. It means you're human. Fear is not something to eliminate, but something to work with. It's the sign that you're stepping into the unknown, and that's where the magic happens. When you take the risk, even when you're scared, you learn that you are far more capable than you ever imagined. You realize that with each step you take, you grow stronger, braver, and more confident. So don't let fear keep you in a place of safety. Take that leap. Say yes to the unknown. Follow your passion, even when the road seems uncertain. The risk may feel overwhelming, but remember this: there is no greater regret than the one that comes from not trying at all. Take the risk because the reward is worth it. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to lose sight of who we are. We get caught up in the expectations of others, the pressures of society, and the constant pursuit of success, that we often forget the essence of our own identity. We may change ourselves to fit in, to please others, or to chase a dream that doesn't align with our true passions. But amidst all of this, one of the most important things we must remember is to never forget who we are. Each of us is born with a unique set of talents, experiences, and qualities that make us who we are. These traits, these passions, are part of our DNA. They shape how we think, how we interact with the world, and how we show up in relationships and work. Yet, when faced with challenges, judgment, or the allure of conformity, it's easy to stray from our authentic selves. I've seen it happen countless times, even in my own life. Early in my career, I faced immense pressure to fit into a mold that others had defined for me. People told me how I should look, how I should speak, and even how I should behave. It was tempting to conform to these expectations, to seek approval and acceptance, but every time I did, I felt disconnected from the person I knew I truly was. The turning point for me came when I realized that trying to be someone I was not only led to frustration and a sense of emptiness. I was constantly chasing approval, but it never felt fulfilling because I wasn't being true to myself. I had to remind myself I am enough just as I am. This realization didn't come overnight. It took time, introspection, and courage to stand up for who I am and embrace the uniqueness of my journey. Once I started doing that, I discovered a deeper sense of peace and purpose. One of the hardest things in life is learning to stand firm in your own identity, especially when the world around you tells you to be something else. The pressure to conform can be overwhelming, whether it's in a career, a relationship, or even a social setting. But the truth is, if you constantly try to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be, you lose sight of your own voice. Your authenticity is your superpower. It's what allows you to connect with others on a deeper level and to create something truly meaningful. When you embrace who you are, you stop pretending and start living in alignment with your true self. In the entertainment industry where I work, there's a constant push for reinvention. The pressure to look a certain way, to fit a certain image is real. And in the beginning, I tried to fit into the mold. I wanted to please people, to meet the standards of what they thought was perfect. But over time, I learned that true success and fulfillment came not from trying to be what everyone else wanted me to be, but from embracing my own individuality. To fulfill my own. I realized that my background, my heritage, and the things that made me different were my greatest strengths. They were the qualities that set me apart in an industry that often values sameness. When I stopped trying to please everyone and started embracing who I truly was, flaws, quirks, and all, that's when I felt the most empowered. It's also important to remember that we are always evolving. Who we are today is not the same as who we were yesterday, and who we are tomorrow will be a reflection of the choices we make today. But despite all the change, the core of who you are remains the same. Your values, your passions, your dreams, they may shift, but they are always rooted in your authentic self. Never let the opinions of others or the circumstances you face make you doubt your worth. Life will throw challenges at you, but if you stay connected to your true self, you'll always have a sense of direction. In relationships, too, it's crucial to remain true to who you are. Often we may feel the need to change ourselves for the people we care about, to become who we think they want us to be. But the most fulfilling relationships are the ones where both people can be their authentic selves, without fear of judgment or rejection. If you lose yourself in the process of trying to please others, you risk losing the very thing that made the relationship special in the first place. Remember, the people who truly care about you will love you for who you are, not who you pretend to be. The journey to staying true to yourself is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, times when you question whether your choices are worth it, and instances when you feel isolated because you refuse to conform. But these are the moments that define you. The strength to remain authentic in a world that constantly pressures you to change is the key to finding inner peace and long-term happiness. So, no matter where you are in life, no matter how much pressure you face, never forget who you are. You are worthy, you are unique, and you have something special to offer the world. Embrace it, own it, and let your authenticity be the guiding force that leads you to success, fulfillment, and true happiness. The world needs more people who are unapologetically themselves. When you stand firm in your truth, you not only change your life, but you inspire others to do the same. So today I challenge you, rise again, stand taller, love harder, dream bigger, because the most powerful version of you is waiting on the other side of heartbreak. Thank you.